All right, and we're live. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Multiverse Show, episode 142. Greatest show on Mondays. Thank you guys for tuning in. We got a full panel today. We got
You know it.
everybody on, plus a special guest. It's going to be lit. We got a lot of stuff to do, but first off, we got to do our introductions. First off, we have the Titan of Texas. Well, in this case, the one from Dallas, in particular, Mr. Fame Entertainment, sir.
Oh, what's going on, guys? Fame Entertainment here, and welcome to the Multiverse Show, the absolutely greatest show on the month. Thank you guys for rocking with us. One thing, we do have a full panel, and even though my Texas brethren is here today, he's from that a part of the Texas that we don't recognize down here in these parts because he might have a snake in his boot. And yeah, buddy.
All right. We also have the one true king of the North, the chief of achievements, Mr. Undead 3XVI, finally gracing us with his presence.
Oh, holy hell! I get second introduction again. Wow, maybe I'll start coming back on more often now.
Oh, and by the way, congratulations on your new position over at the LOG.
Thank you very much.
All right. And we also have the Caesar of Cinema, Mr. James Wilson, back from Twitter jail.
Yes, I was put into Twitter jail because they found out I set up my account before I was 13. Because I'm a rule breaker. Hey.
He just changed it later and they still suspended him.
Yeah, they changed it. And then they like, ha, you broke our rule 8 years ago. And then I got a new account, and then they emailed me and they went, you're alright. We'll just delete the tweets you made before you turned 13. Well, a pointless waste of everyone's time. But yes, hey everyone, I'm good. You can come and get me on Twitter at James_S Wilson, where I'm not banned.
All right. We also have the Don Deletion.
How come it was me? I am the least controversial person.
I
Like,
hate
on
Radiohead.
Twitter.
I had
Actually,
you as the least likely to get banned, James.
actually,
Even
I am the least controversial person on this podcast. Thank you very much.
Sure.
A likely story. All right. We have the Don Deletion, the gaming Gambino himself, Mr. Mike P. The Truth.
Yo, what's going on, guys? Thank you for tuning in for another great episode of the Multiverse Show. As always, we have a great docket of topics planned for you guys and gals tonight, so let's get it started.
And we also have the White Wolf, Mr. Samuel Tolbert.
Hey, everybody. It is weird to be addressing all of you at the same time. This is fantastic. I like it. I'm looking forward to it again in a few months. I'll mark it on the calendar so we can all get ready. But in all seriousness, we have a lot to talk about. I'm really, really excited to dive into some stuff. It's good to be here.
All right. And we have our special guest for the evening, the Master of Disaster, Mr. Jaydubcity. How you doing, sir?
Yo, what's up, everybody? It's your boy J-Dub. Y'all know what it is. Thanks for having me on again.
Yep. When was last time we did this? What?
Man, it's been
Last
a
year?
minute. It's been a while.
About a year
Yeah, I
and a
think it was
half?
last year. Either the first part of this year or last year. Yeah.
I think we did the
That's
last
because
show.
we don't take too kindly around Houston folk around here.
Yeah.
That's why.
By the way, just so y'all know, I hate everything Dallas. I hate the Mavericks. I hate the Cowboys, and I hate the Rangers. I love the people. I just hate the teams.
All right, so we got a lot of topics for the evening, but first off, the question we ask every single week: what have you guys been playing? We'll start with our special guest, J-Dub. What have you been playing, sir?
Luigi's Mansion 3. Man, I've been playing that game. Love it. I'm a huge Luigi's Mansion fan. I still play it on my GameCube, but now it's out on the Switch, so I've been into that. Of course, some Call of Duty, been into that. But this week, man, I'm going to take a vacation. I may be off for about 2 weeks while I'm playing that greatness that is Death Stranding.
All right, and so let's go through the panel here real quick for everybody. What you guys been playing? Because actually we have a full panel, so we actually had to rush through this time. Sam, what you been playing, sir?
I've been playing a lot of After Party. It's a new game from Night School Studio about two teens who get sent to hell, and they're trying to drink their way out because Satan has a tiny little oopsie-daisy loophole that if anyone can out-party and out-drink him, that they can actually get out of hell. So it's actually pretty fun. I've got a review going up on Windows Central hopefully tomorrow.
Oh, nice. I know. I just started playing that myself, but isn't it the same people who made Oxenfree?
Yeah. This is their sophomore effort.
Ooh. Yeah, I started playing about the first hour. I got to the part where they had the open demo out earlier, at least on IGN, and so I got to that point, and so it's been interesting. Mike, what you been playing, sir?
So a lot of Modern Warfare, still really enjoying that. Loving Modern Warfare. Also been playing Luigi's Mansion 3. Game is great. Looks like a Pixar movie. Really impressed with how the game looks and plays. Characters are very emotive and expressive. It's really fun and enjoyable to play, unlike Death Stranding. So I've been enjoying it.
All right. Man, there's gonna be so many shots done at Kojima tonight. I can tell you right now, it's gonna be nuts. All right, Mr. James Wilson, what you been playing, sir?
I have been doing so. You guys don't know this. In England, there is a TV show called Mastermind, and it's a quiz show. But you give your specialist subject, and then you do a round on general knowledge. And it's very British in the sense that there is no prize at all. The prize you get is pride. And I am going to be auditioning to go on this TV show. And my specialist subject is the fiction of H.P. Lovecraft, and also Bloodborne. So to do that, I've just been playing Bloodborne again.
Nice.
I'm really up to date with those 4-year-old games.
Yeah.
And actually, no, I tell you, I have been playing a new game. I've been playing WWE 2K20. It's shit.
Ew.
I heard it's just such a cluster, man. that
Game. It's really great if you want to play one-on-one matches.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to do anything else, it's a problem.
Yeah.
Literally anything else. It's just it is just nothing works. They released a patch, and it works better. It still doesn't work fully.
Yeah.
Like, it's embarrassing, and I do like in the earnings call for WWE of the financial year, they have described the reaction to this game as mixed.
Mixed. Okay, sure, we'll call it mixed. All right,
Yeah.
Nick, what you been playing, sir? Other than Baldur's Gate, we already know what you've been playing.
Well, on Xbox, I've been playing Baldur's Gate, and obviously, I actually did a playthrough of one. I've never played the first one. I've only ever played the second one, so I beat the first one, had a blast with that, doing some expansions and whatnot. I've been on that Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and the kid still has it. On PlayStation, I Platinum Concrete Genie. On my way getting the Platinum on Medieval. And hoping to have that all done and out of the way in time for Death Stranding on Friday.
My man.
All right, Fame, what you been playing, sir?
Moving forward, I think I want to be called the Black Sam, so call me Bam, because me and Sam are usually on the same page about these things. Because I am also currently playing After Party. It's actually a really, really, really fun game that I think everyone should pick up. It has a lot of funny moments, lighthearted moments, a lot of holy crap moments between that and the Outer Worlds. But After Party is a definite recommend. If you have Game Pass, it is just released on Game Pass. I definitely recommend you guys picking it up.
Mm-hmm. All right, so yeah, I've played a little bit of After Party. Sam already kind of covered that. Also did a little bit of Modern Warfare. I've been flipping back and forth between Fallout 76 and Outer Worlds. Just trying to get a little bit of perspective on it, and it's been interesting. Really been enjoying Outer Worlds, a lot of fun. Fallout 76 is also enjoyable to me, but it's an interesting little dichotomy going on there. But we got topics we got to discuss. But first, we got to pay the bills. Mr. Corporate Shill Sam, who's our sponsor this week?
Our sponsor this week is once again the Horde. Despite
The Horde!
burning down the ancestral tree of the Night Elves, scourging, raping, and pillaging their way across Azeroth, and now shattering the realm between life and death itself, they still insist they're the good guys. And we believe them, because we're paid to believe them.
Mm-hmm.
So please, go support the Horde.
right. So, we got a couple things we need to discuss, but also, James, I understand that you have a little bit of your movie corner.
Yeah, not a crazy amount of news. Unfortunately, I did say that I would be reviewing Doctor Sleep this week, but due to life, as we've gone the way and haven't got around to see it, I've been hearing good things, but I can't wholeheartedly recommend it because I haven't goddamn seen it. So there you go. But do watch The Shining because it's good. I do want to quickly shout out a couple of things on Netflix that have caught my eye and I've had the time to watch. Something called American Son. It's based on a play of the same name, I believe.
Oh my god, it's so good.
You've seen it?
It's so good, dude.
Oh, great! I'm really glad because really good.
My god, what's the ending I was really hoping for? But it's the ending that my heart needed because man, that hurt.
All right, so yeah, so this is it's very very much like a play in the sense it's all set in one room over a real time. A young man has been taken into police custody. He's African American. He's mixed race, I believe. And his mother's African American and his father's white. And then the cop, and it's literally just the three people just talking in a room, which sounds boring, but as we all know, can be some of the most cinematic things.
Yes,
that's available. Big recommend. Well worth your time.
Everyone should watch that. It's so good.
Yeah, it's not going to be like breaking new ground in terms of like what it's trying to do. It's just really good. It's just really good TV.
I'm about 30 minutes. Yeah, I'm about 30 minutes in.
And I mean, Kerry Washington, I mean, you can't go wrong with anything Kerry Washington. I mean, he did an amazing job, dude. My God.
And the guy who plays the cop is a guy called Jeremy Jordan. He is a Broadway sort of legend right now. He's like he's like the hot young thing. So I'm really glad that he's getting some exposure in this. He's also in Supergirl, the TV series. But yeah, in terms of news, the big stuff, like there's no been like crazy big announcements. Ant-Man 3 got announced to the surprise of absolutely nobody. I believe it's going to be the first MCU film to debut on Disney Plus. That's my little prediction. It's going to start filming in 2021. So looking forward to see that. Joker is on track to potentially by the end of the year make $1 billion worldwide at the box office, which is a huge deal.
It'll be the first R-rated movie to break it.
Yes, it will. Right now, it currently sits as the most profitable movie of the year. What I mean by that is based on production budget to actual box office take. Obviously, Infinity War Endgame made the most money, but it cost like more than twice what Joker cost. So based on the budget, Joker is easily the biggest thing of the year. Personal news, Halloween Kills, the new Halloween film, has wrapped filming, and we're going to have an adult versions of Tommy and Lindsay. Tommy Doyle and Lindsay Wallace. These are the two kids that Jamie Lee Curtis was looking after in the original Halloween movie. Very happy to see them pop up in the film. Even though Tommy Doyle has appeared in another Halloween movie, played by... Does anyone want to guess who it was?
Wait. I know this one. I have his face. I can see his face. He's in Gremlins. He's in Lost Boys. Dang it, what's his name?
No.
No.
Not him. One of our most beloved stars of the screen. American, he never ages. Anyone?
Oh, not
All right, no one's getting it. It's Paul Rudd.
Oh.
Wait, really?
Yes. What was it? The fourth or fifth one? Sixth. Yeah. I was thinking. Tommy Doyle from. No, I was thinking Jarvis. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was thinking Friday the 13th.
Yeah, different franchise.
Yep.
Paul Rudd is in Halloween 6. He plays a grown-up Tommy Doyle in the film that doesn't need to exist, but it's got so much lore and makes it mystical, and it's really fun. A bit more personal news. My greatest screen appearance as Man in Crowd. I am here to announce, unfortunately, that I will not be reprising my role in the new Fantastic Beasts movie.
Man, so depressed.
I know it was loads of background dealings and negotiations, but I think it's very much of a situation. We both shook hands and parted ways with this one. We think it's better for both of us.
Did you take your
because that franchise is dead as hell.
Yeah.
Fantastic Beasts 3 officially is moving forward, even though we already knew that. Don't know why, but lots of places are reporting this as news. It's going to be set in Brazil, and filming starts in spring of 2020.
Right.
But it's been a relatively slow week for movie news. The streaming wars continue to be interesting, but no major thing has happened. So I will keep you all updated if something crazy happens. But as far as we know, it's been a relatively easy week for films.
All right. So
but Sam wants to quickly rant about things.
Oh, Sam.
It is incredibly irritating to me that my theater almost always gets movies. If it's like a 1 night only, 2 night only special shown in 3 theaters, okay, maybe not. We usually get pretty much every film, though. We have a healthy audience. Because the manager, amusingly enough, has actually told me at multiple times that the big Disney blockbusters bring people in, and then everyone else just stays and checks out other films. It boosts awareness. But we aren't getting either of the 2 films that I really, 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 really want to see right now. One of them is Parasite, which I know basically nothing about except it's being called the best movie of the year. And the other one is The Lighthouse, which, again, I know very little about except it's Robert Eggers and it looks phenomenal. And we're not getting either of them.
For people who don't know, Parasite is directed by Michael Bong Joon-ho, who you will know, American audiences will know as the Snowpiercer director.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Which is an epic film.
Yes, it is.
And Parasite, I have not had the privilege to see Parasite, but the word is that it is easily one of the best films of the year, and a shoo-in for the best film nomination at the Oscar. Not best foreign film, best film.
Right. The hype around that is unreal. I'm doing everything I can to know nothing about it.
Yeah.
But so needless to say, I'm irritable that we're not getting either of those films, as best I can tell.
But the big thing is yet. You're not getting them yet because they're very much they do what these kind of films do every year in the run up to the Oscar season. They release small in New York and LA and select other cities, sometimes Chicago and the big stuff in America, and then the critics do their thing, and then it gets nomination, and then it gets released. So then it can get a public opinion. And then the Oscar voters and all the other Academy and Guild voters can go, oh no, people like this film. I'll go check it out.
Yeah.
But that is what's happening, and it's annoying, but that is the business.
All right. So we got to move on. We got topics to cover. First up on the docket, we need to talk about Kojima. So the review embargo has finally released for Death Stranding after what's it been, almost 4 years of hype.
3
It
years.
feels like it's almost been 4 years, man. It just feels like it's been forever. After years and years.
It was announced the same year as Last of Us 2.
Yep, and God of War. And because that was E3 2016, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was there for that. All right, so a little bit of background as we kind of build into this. So, we had the announcement in 2016, a new game from Kojima, freshly released from Konami, ready to go. We had a little bit of information about that. We found out that Sony was going to be publishing the game, at least on consoles, but that's all anyone noticed about. They even had said there, it was only a console exclusive back then. So whenever it was announced it was coming to PC later last week, it shouldn't have been a surprise to anybody, but everybody forgot. So, a little more about this. For a very long time, nobody knew what this game was about at all. Everyone was guessing.
A lot of people still don't know, like me.
People still don't know what this game's about.
They have been working for a very long time until we finally got some actual gameplay, and it was kind of all over the board. People thought it was Kojima's hiding the best part of the gameplay here. It can't just be a delivery game. So the review embargo released, and I would say it's mixed. It seems like either people love it or they hate it. And do you think that's fair? That's safe to say that it's either a love or hate situation.
I think it's so much a victim of its own hype.
It's divisive. It's a divisive game, shall I say, in 2019, in the Great Console War. But for everybody else, they would just look at a Metacritic score or look at some of the content and a lot of what a lot majority of the people have to say, and they'll say it's a great game. It's going to be a great game.
I think
I
the
That's
think
why
problem
that's
comes
that's why I
when
say that's why I say it's divisive, right? Because it's looking at the audience that you're. If you look at the audience who's talking about it, um, then it would be Twitter and YouTube is one thing, but the masses of people out there and the actual people who review the game, because no one else has had the game in their possession, so that's all we would have to go through. Go That's all we would have to go by rather, because right now you can read the reviews, you'll see some giving a 100 best game ever, then you read the ones at the bottom and hey, it's boring, it's this, it's that. So that's why I say it's divisive. It's going to be a divisive game. There's a lot of history behind Kojima. There's a lot of mystery behind this game and just his person anyway. So it's going to be good talking about it.
I do think like Anchor was saying, it's a product of it. People saying the negative things with the game is because of the hype. Don't get it twisted. 85. If you have a Metacritic game of an 85, you made one hell of a game, right? I think part of the issue with people is because of the hype, and it was propped up to be the game of the year, game of the gen type game, and it's nothing more than middle of the road game of the year contender. Not saying it's middle of the road game, but it's along the lines of the Gears 5 and other games that's possibly for game of the year. Do I personally think it's a game for me? Not really. I don't. I'm one of the people. I can get frustrated with certain games. I hate games where that has weapons. I have to repair weapons. I hate them with a passion. Imagine having to focus and to make sure I don't walk and tumble over the boxes on my back. Hell no. Who got time for that in a video game? Oh, got to make sure I hit my sticks this way so he doesn't walk and fall down in terrain. Like, I think it's a lot in the game that I don't want to deal with. But for the people who looking forward to the game, heck, look forward to it, play it. Forget what these people think about the game, right? A lot of stuff that we saying on Twitter and on YouTube is all in fun, right? Like no one truly cares if you play the game or not. Like, go enjoy what you enjoy. It's just not personally for me because it has a lot of things in the game that I see that is going to piss me off or irritate me. So I won't deal with it unless someone decides to give me $61 bills on my birthday, so something they can pay for. Other than that, not me.
I'm definitely interested in it because it has such a cinematic feel to it. So obviously, my eye is going to be drawn. But I tried to play Metal Gear Solid 5, and that thing was just impenetrable. And I quite like the MGS series, and I just found that out a monster. And I know this isn't connected to anything, but just like the idea of like sitting down and doing this, it's not filling me with great joy. I'm still interested, and when the price drops, I'm almost definitely going to play this. But I'm talking like January, maybe even later.
Well, it's definitely a day one. It is one of my most anticipated games this generation. I wouldn't say a big Kojima fan. I'm a fan of his work. Don't really know the guy per se, but his name in the industry and his previous work over the last 30 years kind of speaks for itself. And so I think that's where what a lot of the hype come from. It's kind of like Michael Jordan, when he was with the Bulls, and if he goes to another team, he has his legacy behind him and his previous works. And that's what people look forward to. I wanted there to be a Silent Hills. That didn't happen. PT came out, gave us that great feel that, oh my God, this guy is the mad genius or whatever. And so when Death Stranding was announced, it's like, look, man, come on. The Walking Dead was like at its hype. It was at its peak. So with Norman Reedus being in there, it just really pushed that over the edge with a mind like, Hideo Kojima and then Mads Mikkelsen and Del Toro and all those. What is not to like about the game per se at that particular time? And then I think as they try to reveal some pieces of the game, just people lost their patience with the game. They wanted to see what this thing was about. Just tell us the premise. Just tell us and show us the gameplay. Like, stop with all this mystery stuff. And I think when they finally came out with that last trailer, that answered a lot of people. I'm not going to say everyone, but that answered a lot of what people wanted to see. And I even said so myself. I wish he would have shown that trailer a long time ago. And that would have stopped a lot of speculation. A lot of people saying, oh, it's just boxes, it's just this and that. And, but, you know, I don't want the game to be spoiled for me. So I have Death Stranding, you know, I have that blocked on Twitter and stuff. So I won't get spoiled by it. I don't want to see anything else by it. But I'm interested. I got the theme console coming. I got the collector's edition. Yes, with the giant baby. I have that coming as well. So, you know, let's see. I'm glad the reviews dropped. The game is getting great reviews. It's at 85. No one can complain about that. And think about it, it's 2019. We haven't had many games like you know, as in the previous years where we've had a lot of 93s, 94s, a bunch of 90 type games. We don't have that this particular year. And I know that the generation it's almost over. This is pretty much the last year of this generation. Next year we will be having these new consoles in our homes. So you know, I think we can kind of take this as one last hurrah. 2020 is going to be epic. And I'm just looking forward to this Death Stranding and playing it, streaming it, and getting the platinum.
Yeah, man.
I just want to say very, very quickly, Mike, I'll let you go. I just think, talking about the review scores, I'm way more interested in something that's getting high scores and low scores. Like, you always, if it's divisive like that, that's way more interesting than when something's getting loads of bad reviews, loads of good reviews. Mike, go.
Yes.
What I was going to say was I really don't put too much stock into Metacritic scores. I mean, obviously, an 85 is a great score, and that's indicative of a great game. Me personally, this is not a game that's for me. It's not something that I'm going to be checking out. But one thing that I appreciate about what Death Stranding has done is that it's opened up the door to one of those conversations. One of the reviews mentioned this about the game, and it was a high scoring review. I think the outlet gave it a 95, but the snippet from the review that I saw said that the game was not a fun game to play, but it's still reviewed really, really well from this particular outlet. So it kind of opens up that discussion where, you know, does a game need to be fun to play in order to review well? And I was kind of thinking it about today. And at first, I'm thinking to myself, well, yeah, obviously a game's got fun. If it's a good game, it's got to be a fun game to play. If the game's not fun, it's not good. That's something I'm going to put down. But as I was thinking about it, I thought about What Remains of Edith Finch. What Remains of Edith Finch is one of the best games I played this entire generation. And there's parts in that game that are definitely not fun. There's parts in that game that are definitely downright heartbreaking. Not necessarily what I would call fun in the traditional sense. So I do give Death Stranding credit for kind of establishing that type of dialogue amongst the gaming community. As far as, does a game need to be fun? Is it art? Is it something else? You know what I mean? So it's definitely getting people talking as far as that's concerned.
See, I disagree with the idea of what is fun. See, fun is something where I don't think, like, fun is not necessarily like, oh, good times, rock and roll, like, I'm happy, I'm doing all this stuff. No, I don't think that is what necessarily is fun. I would say fun is something along the lines of, did I enjoy the experience?
So it's enjoyable.
If the experience is enjoyable, I say it's fun.
I would say, here's the thing, right? And I'm glad he brought that up, because this is a debate that I've been in over the last weekend. And that is, when I play Nintendo games, right? When I playing the Switch, I have fun because there's a smile on my face, and it gives me a different feeling. But when I play, for example, Xbox or a Sony game or something like that, even if it's Call of Duty or something, it's not necessarily fun. I'm entertained, right? It's taking my time. I'm engaged in it, but I don't have a smile on my face. And so there is I guess there's a difference Whereas like a game doesn't necessarily have to be fun to keep your enjoyment. Well, I wouldn't even say it's kind of hard, and
So,
maybe
like,
that's
another
part of
games like horror
discussion,
games.
right?
Horror games, I don't think they're not like good time rock
Fun.
and roll, have fun, but like you enjoy the experience out of it. You get something like the being scared, the adrenaline rush. Like you would consider that fun, and the horror movies.
Dark Souls, the series,
Yep.
or Bloodborne, stuff like that. I can't stand it. Right, my blood pressure goes through the roof. I just want to break the disc. So therefore, I stay away from those games. I have no fun, and I can't be entertained because it's the reverse effect of it gives me the reverse effect of what I want a game to give me.
You know what you need to do?
But I know a lot of people love those games. They're entertained. They have fun with them, and that's part of that being a hard game is part of that satisfaction that some people get, but that's just not with me. So you had Neil Druckmann to come out, right, and say that The Last of Us wasn't a fun game. But that story and that lore that brought you in, it gave you the feels, the emotion, and when you finished it, you couldn't wait for a sequel to come. And I think that's what we're looking forward to with The Last of Us 2. So if the creator of that game says his game is not fun, and it's not meant to be fun, it's meant to draw you in with, cinematic storytelling, adventure, real life mature subjects. So was those reviews, right? The reviewer gave a game a 95, as I recall it. And he did have a snippet in there where he said the game is not fun. But if you go ahead and read the reviews and he kind of stresses to you his experience of the game, you can get a whole different feel than based off that review, that little snippet. But if you take that snippet and run with it, well, this guy gave this game a 95 Metacritic score, and he said the game wasn't fun. That's BS. But it's all about the context, right? It's all about the context. He goes on to explain how his experience with the game and what he does that draws him in there. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
Right, and it's one of those things where, like I said, it's like it's very easy to look at that and like face value and say, well, how could he say that? How could he give the game a 95 when it's not fun? But it's one of those things where the more you think about it and kind of analyze it, it's like let's compare it to movies, right? Different media. We know Kojima's trying to go into movies now, to actual movies. If you take a movie like Joker, we talked about this when we reviewed Joker. Joker was not an enjoyable movie to watch. It was relentlessly bleak and depressing for the entirety of its runtime. But at the same time, it's one of the most powerful and really one of the best movies I've ever seen. But it was not an enjoyable movie to watch. So, games like Death Stranding, things like that, could conceivably convey similar types of feelings where it might not necessarily fun in a traditional sense, but depending on how it presents itself with the story and the experience, the visual style, and other things, it could still be a great game, just not in the traditional sense that we tend to think about it at face value.
I'll chime in on this one, and I think what it comes down to is I think games now, and this has been happening for a little while, but people are starting to talk about it more, is that there's different kinds of experiences. You like in film, you can watch something like Schindler's List. It's not a fun movie to watch. It's informative to a certain extent, and it's not. I wouldn't say it's entertaining even, but it's a story, and you're invested in it. And I think what we're starting to see with video games is I use Spec Ops: The Line as the comparison. That is, by all intents and purposes, not a smiling, laughing, having fun game by any stretch of the imagination. But that was an experience. I always think back to that game. Whenever I play a game that has emotionally hard-hitting moments, I think back to that game. I think back to games like BioShock Infinite as well. Thing like The Last of Us. Those games weren't necessarily fun. They had really dark content and covered issues that not a lot of things in the medium covered at the time, but it was all part of a greater overall experience. And with the amount of games that are coming out now, I really think that we've got the space in the medium. Like, if you want to play a happy game, you can go play Super Mario Odyssey. If you want a heavy narrative, more sad tone story, you can play something like What Remains of Edith Finch with a short runtime. You can play something like The Last of Us, which has a longer runtime. I just think all these different options just overall enhance the gaming experience as a whole. And I think what needs to be said is I think it needs to be explained in a better way and maybe not use the word fun per se, but I think it's more poorly worded than actually and not a fact, if that makes any sense.
Yo, forget that. J-Dub is in here. Since J-Dub is in here, the game is trash. The game is trash because J-Dub is in here. Forget all this nice talk.
Hey, listen, y'all know what happens on Twitter stays on Twitter.
Do you
Go
mind
ahead,
if I
Sam. Yeah, go ahead, Sam. I have something I want to follow up with in a minute, but I'll let you go first.
I'm probably the most excited, I would say, out of anyone on this panel for it. Certainly out of my Multiverse Bros. I've been looking forward to it. I'm ready for AAA insanity nonsense and emotional moments and weird stuff and the idea of sea life stranding. Like, yeah, give me that kind of nonsense. But I want to say this. Here's the main concern I have after skimming some of these reviews and listening to Giant Bomb's thoughts and Edge's thoughts, et cetera, et cetera. I was really hoping / under the impression that this game was about 20 to 25 hours long, that it was a shorter experience. According to most reviewers, it's 40 hours if you're rushing the story and you don't do any side content. Closer to 75 or 80 if you actually try to do the side quest. And Mike, to your point, yeah, Joker was a phenomenal film, and it's very uncomfortable, not fun at all. Joker is also 2 hours long, not 80 or 50 or 60. There's a big difference. Hellblade is not a fun game. It was one of my favorite games of 2017. Hellblade is 4 hours long. And even then, I begin to think towards the end that, like, okay, it really has to stop here because any more would get unbearable. So I'm still interested. I'm still going to pick it up. I got the Steelbook edition on reserve, and I'm going to grab it. I'm looking forward to trying it out. But I do think my main concern is how many different valleys are we going to have to trudge through, quite literally, before we get to the emotional highs and the story highs. I understand if you want a core repetitive loop that's supposed to be trudging and difficult, but how much is too much? That's my main concern here. That's my main takeaway and issue that multiple reviewers, not just one or two, were all saying, yeah, this is a big problem.
And
so we'll see.
I know because it's good discussion. I want to retool it a little bit. Talking about a little more about Kojima, because this is his first game after Konami, and it reminded me, isn't this his only game where Konami's not been involved if you don't count PT?
I mean, PT was Konami.
Well, yeah, sorry, it was Konami then. So this was his only game he's ever made that's at least high profile game that's not been with Konami.
Yes,
as far as I'm aware, yes.
So my thing is, this has always been one of the things too. We always talk about this in terms of what's happening with Japanese developers, where it's like whoever the head of the studio is gets all the credit. Which in this case it was Kojima for the last 10, 20 years. So the question I've always wondered is like how much of his success was him and how much of it was Konami.
Well, okay, I'd like to tackle that first.
Sure.
All right. So Kojima's been with Konami. He's been in the industry. He's been making games for over 30 years, literally over 30 years. And I want to say all of the Metal Gear games have all gotten over 90 Metacritic score throughout the history, right?
Not counting the 2-hour demo.
Not counting the, I'm talking about the mainline games.
Yeah, not counting Ground Zeroes, you are correct.
Yeah. Yes, the mainline games. Ground Zeroes was more of a demo. That was a demo to Metal Gear Solid 5, the Phantom Pain. Mm-hmm. So if you think about that, right, that's a great track record. And after he left Konami, they came out with a game by themselves, right, without Kojima, called Metal Gear Survive. And that game got like a 30-something Metacritic. So I know a lot of people would like to say, well, it was really Konami that kept Kojima in check and this and this and that. But it's like, guys, he's been in the industry over 30. He's been making game over 30 years. He's always gotten 90 something Metacritic games. This was the first one where he missed it by 5 points. Is that really? And this is different time, different era, different mindset for gamers, different everything. Is 5 points really the okay? It was really Konami that was making all the decisions and really had the talent and was really doing things. If this game would have come out right and it bombed, if it would have got a 30 something, then I would say, you know what, that you may have a valid point that maybe Konami was the one that kept him in check and kept him grounded and kept things going. But 85 Metacritic, there are listen, EA would kill right now. Ubisoft would kill right now for an 85 Metacritic game. Their last games have bombed. So we can't throw Kojima to the dogs, right? Because he missed his benchmark of what his career has been, which is a 90. And I just want to be fair about that. Now, if his next game come out and it's, I don't know. I just don't get how people can throw him to the curve after he's spent over 30 years giving you great hits after hits after hits after hits, and then all of a sudden he makes one game that get an 85 Metacritic, and it's not for the masses, or at least, or not a lot of people are, or not certain people are interested in the type of game that he's making. Then he's trash. He's lost it. Konami was right to let him go. Like, I just don't understand that logic.
I think I know for myself, the first year Death Stranding was revealed, there was a little bit of bitterness, and it wasn't even Kojima itself. It was more along the lines of, I was looking at Death Stranding going, we're getting this instead of PT, which inevitably just made me more mad at Konami than ever displacing that anger at Kojima himself. But I think a lot of people were way too emotionally involved in this from the get-go and got really way too hyped into it, because when we talk about new IPs, and Sam will attest to this as well, things like Death Stranding getting an 85, Outer Worlds getting an 86, having a new IP do that well right off the shot is really, really good. And that's what people need to remember. This is really Kojima's first time stepping out of 20 plus years at least. So, like, I'm willing to come some slack. Like, if there, like, I'm really this game. I'm interested to see what he's going to do with all this talent he's got in this game. His writing's always been decent, a little convoluted, but decent. The in-between game parts that Sam mentioned, I'm kind of worried about. But at the end of the day, I'm interested to see what he can do on his own, what he can learn from Death Stranding going into his next project. I think that's the most important thing for me, personally.
See, I'm probably one of the guys who usually critiques him a lot more than most. Namely because, I mean, the first big game I played and like completed all the way from him was Metal Gear Solid 5. And I liked the gameplay a lot, and I thought the story was just okay, but the pacing and everything else was terrible. And they cut a lot of corners and stuff. And so I've been wondering for a very long time, it was like, what parts of these decisions was Konami and what part was Kojima? And what I thought about was, I thought they had a good gameplay loop, and he was controlled in terms of what he was producing. And they cut down dumb ideas, and anytime Konami wanted to do like a real sleazy microtransaction grabby situation, he was like, no, don't touch it, this is my baby, don't touch it. And so he protected them from making little cash grabby options on his games, and they kind of kept him in check in terms of making something on time and making something for making something that's actually a complete product. And so I felt like it was a really interesting scenario for both of them, and that they benefited from each other. And now that he's gone, what I see based on reviews is it's kind of long. It's not really the gameplay's not great, but that's what I keep seeing. I keep seeing it's that the things I thought Konami was responsible for is what's missing in this game. But I think also too on the flip side about it too, I think that Konami without Kojima doesn't have any creative vision at all. They don't know what they're doing.
They're not even making games anymore.
Yeah.
They make pachinko machines.
Yep. That's just bring up pachinko machines.
You're right to a certain extent, but you're not necessarily. I'm going to Konami that kept Kojima centered. There was a gentleman, I can never remember his name, and I feel absolutely terrible for it. He had a co-writer through the Metal Gear series all the way up until Ground Zeroes, I believe. And then Phantom Pain was, I think, the first Metal Gear game he tackled for the most part mainly on his own. I think he needs someone when he's writing to bounce ideas off of. Any creative type does to a certain extent. But I think for him, he always had a partner where he kind of be like, hey, what if we put a baby in a jar? And his partner would be like, nah, let's make a guy that floats and shoots fire instead. He's like, yeah, that's better. And then they just kind of bounced off of each other. And I think he's learning on his own about what he wants to make. And if he's making this game himself and everything else, and he gets even a mild amount of success with it, then good for him for making something that he wanted to make. Because we all know, I think, from playing anyone who played Metal Gear Solid 5, Phantom Pain, that he didn't want to make Metal Gear anymore.
Remember when he wanted Metal Gear 3 to be his last game, and he received so many death threats by not only fans but people in the industry and stuff like that. You guys can look it up. Yeah, literally death threats and stuff. And so basically they forced him to make Metal Gear Solid 4. I believe that was the Guns of the Patriot or Sons of the Patriot. Something like that. I can't remember.
That had a very convoluted production. That was if I remember correctly, that was when a few people started raising their eyebrows, going, okay.
Yes. He wanted to, and that's one thing about Kojima. Based on the conversations he's had, he wanted to do his own thing for quite some time. He wanted to do his own thing, and whatever transpired between him and Konami, but it's crazy because that relationship between them forced them to basically get a restraining order where he couldn't show up to the gaming awards. He couldn't appear at events for the Phantom Pain and stuff like that. It's just crazy.
In which Konami forgot that the Streisand effect is a thing.
Exactly.
Try to suppress information. That's a great way to make it happen.
Exactly. And guess what? That just boosts up his status, right? And now, Jeff Keighley, the infamous FU Konami, were on stage, and now Konami ended up being the bad guy, and no one likes him, but they don't care. They're making pachinko machines, which is probably what they should have been doing all along. But I don't know. This game again. I always said it was going to be divisive because it wasn't a Metal Gear game. The guy's been making Metal Gear games for ever since the NES, and now he's not doing that anymore. I mean, but his legacy is solidified. Yes, he is the rock star. Some people don't like him because he does make it all about himself and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, if the product delivers, you can be a rock star all you want. Who cares? It's all about that product. The game will probably more than likely be a commercial success. It'll probably, just do astronomical numbers. But it's, again, the game is probably not for everybody. But that also brings up one other question, right? In a generation or in the gaming era now that are solidified with like-minded games, from Call of Duty, Battlefield, Fortnite, PUBG, all of this stuff, right? We get the same stuff decade after decade after decade. The Maddens, the 2Ks. There's only a handful of games that we actually get, and they're repeat games. Is it bad for someone like Kojima or someone else to try to build a new genre or build something that's different? Or should they not risk it and just keep giving you the same formula that's kind of what we've been going through?
Mm-hmm. All right, so I want to get to another topic because we've been busting through this one real nice. So we had a little bit of news that happened just before the show. I want to talk about it briefly. So Corsi apparently has left PlayStation. And this is... I mean, I would consider it out of nowhere. Like, I was not expecting this to happen. I don't know. Did anyone else see that coming?
The last
Yeah.
bastion of the Vita resistance has been swept away.
Yeah.
It is now
For
just me
those-
on Vita Island.
No, it's me too. By the way, for those of you guys that don't know, Gio's dad died earlier this year. He passed, and so I mean, and he's been with the company for quite some time. I don't know what to take from that. Just assuming, right, is he's just wants to do something else or relax. But when you have people like Sean Layden, who's been with the company for over 30 years, you have this and various other people leaving. I think that is a sign that it's time for the old guard to step down and move out while they're on top, because they probably don't want to dedicate another 10 years of their life for a new generation of console and stuff like that. Again, a lot of these guys are 30 years in, 25, 30 years in, and that's a long time. We had Mike Ibarra with Microsoft. He's a long time guy. He decided to step off. Gio, great guy, liked him, met him a couple of times, had dinner. Everything's just a great guy. Can't say enough good things about him. But maybe it was just that time. And we're probably going to see one or two more people from Sony decide to do that, and maybe one or two more guys from Microsoft decide to do that. These console generations guys are, they're 7, 8, 9, 10 years. And that's a lot of wear and tear on your life, on your dedication, or what you do. And do you really want to work for a company until you're 50 years old? I mean, for 50 years. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, that's a good way of putting it, dude. The thing is, when people leave, we don't know what's going on with them. Like, I think people could attest that whenever Sean Layden left, or barring something's actually happened to his family or something that he had to go.
Yeah.
This is devastating. We don't know what's going on, and that makes their decisions. And the reason why I've always said that. Oh, who was the guy from Evolution who had to step down? What was it? It was right after Drive Club or something.
Paul Rush. Yeah, Rush. Paul Rush.
Where he stepped down because he was like, "Look, I got stuff going on with my family," and also people were giving him death threats and making him do all this crazy stuff, and it was like, no, the reason why he stepped down was he had to want to be next to his kids.
Yeah,
and they were going through what was it, some disease, and
it's
that's why I don't rush to conclusions on stuff like that, because you don't know what's happening with them.
Yeah, and I look at it like people at the initiative, right? They're working on a game, but one of their leads, well, I think they've lost 3 leads thus far within 2 years. That's a short period of time where multiple people have left, so you wonder what's going on there. That sends a flag. But a guy that's been with a company for 30 years, I don't really question that, because it's like, well, geez, the guy's, I mean, he's not a spring chicken anymore. Maybe he doesn't want to dedicate another decade of his life. Then that would make 40 years of his life dedicated to a company. So that's how I ended up looking at it. And again, Gio is not a spring chicken. He's been with the company for a long time. Do you really want to dedicate another 10 years of your life with another console war? A lot of people like going out on top, right? They've put PlayStation and Sony in a better place while they're on top. Leave and have fun and say, hey, I left when the company's on top instead of being on the bottom. That's how people tend to do it, and that's just kind of like business 101 of how you want to go out.
Yeah, then Jack Trenton's a good example of that. When I met him, I was like, hey, why'd you go out? And he's like,
yeah,
when's a better time?
Yeah. I think if you go out right when the company's doing bad, that's considered a failure, and so it's kind of like your win-loss record. Like if you're a coach, so it's going to be harder for you to sell yourself to another company if you decide to go back into the same thing. But if you go out on top, you can always say, "Look, man, hey, I left Sony in 2019. They were number one. They won this and that, and they sold so many consoles. You can be more marketable.
Yep.
And yeah, so that's how I see it. I don't see it as, the world is falling. It's like, okay, guys, can we keep asking these guys that are 50, 60 years old to keep staying there? Like, even the guy from Sony over, he was the head of the Japan region. He stepped down.
Yep.
But
Like
I mean,
the next
again,
day.
the
next
guy
day
was
after
like
Sean.
7. Yeah, guy was like 60 years old. He'd been with the company for over 30 years. Like, geez, like, let these guys go. Let new blood come in. People who can dedicate a lot of time traveling and doing shows and fighting a good fight. Let them
the
come
Jim
in.
Ryans take
Right.
over already.
Exactly.
Right. And I mean, my whole perspective on this is like, Gio obviously was an important part of the team at Sony, but
Yeah.
I look at it as like, the PlayStation division isn't going to fall off a cliff all of a sudden because he left. You know what I mean? Console war stuff, people try to read into things like that. But my thing is like, with Gio leaving, and another example like Mikey Barra leaving Microsoft, we don't know what their motives for leaving were. So if they're leaving because the grind of working on these consoles, getting everything ready and things like that was too much to them, and they want to stay in game, but you want to slow down a little bit. That's one thing. You can't really fault them for that. And at the same time, if somebody leaves a company to get a job elsewhere that advances them as far as professionally and their career, for either one of those reasons, I really don't think you could fault them for that. So,
Well, I would say in Mikey Barra's case, that's not the situation because he went into a dumpster fire with Blizzard all of a sudden.
Look, I'll say this. I think the only real mystery about any of these ones that have left recently, whether it's Sony or Microsoft, is the Sean Layden thing.
yes.
Like, the Sean Layden thing's the only weird one because they didn't have a replacement for him when he left. But someone like Mikey Barra left Xbox to go work for Blizzard. Obviously, he was going to take the Blizzard offer because anyone who knew Mikey Barra knew that he loves Blizzard. He loves everything they do.
Yep.
So, of course, the man's going to jump to become part of Blizzard. And I think Gio, he did a lot of great things with PlayStation. He ran with the Vita till the end of it. And I think if he wants to go off and do something different now that he's been there, God, I don't even know how long he's been at Sony/PlayStation. But, like, I speak for myself. Like, the amount of people, it's 60 people, and there's only a handful of people that have been there for 20, 30 years. Most people are there for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. It's very rare that people, even in executive roles, hold on to those roles for a decade, 2 decades.
I agree. Look at, you remember with Microsoft, we had Peter Moore, Jay Allard, and as I can recall, and a bunch of other people that Don Matrix and all those guys.
Yeah.
And that's just every corporation. You have people come in, people leave. But I look at it like, you're right. This especially dealing with gaming. You have Reggie Fils-Aimé, right? He left. So this generation alone, right, had a lot of casualties, or a lot of people that decided to change guard and go off and do other things. But last generation lasted for so long. I mean, that lasted, what, 10 years maybe? Last generation?
About that.
Yeah. Whereas previously, generations would normally last about 5 years. So people could get in 3 or 4 generations under their belt. Now it's like, look, man, I'm willing to do maybe 1 or 2 generations, and that's it. I'll move off and go be executive somewhere else, start my own company or do something else. So we can expect this going forward, right? Now we have to start looking at the rest of the executives that are there. Look at Shuhei Yoshida, right? He's not a spring chicken. Hopefully he stays, because we still need some of the old guard there. But I mean, I don't know, man. How much longer is Phil Spencer going to be there? How much longer is Aaron Greenberg?
I think Aaron could dip out soon. well, more before Phil. I think Phil's got one generation left in him, and that's kind of
Yeah.
it. I think Aaron could probably retire. Or
I've been waiting for Aaron. Man's been doing the same thing forever. I couldn't imagine.
But I get, because aren't Aaron and Shuhei's jobs roughly the same? Like
No.
I keep forgetting
No.
Like the thing is the corporate structure is so different. It's not necessarily a 1-to-1 like comparison.
A better comparison to Shu would be that Matt Booty does what Shu and Sean were doing together until Sean left. That's a better comparison than I could give.
Yeah, so Sony's structure recently changed, remember? And you ended up with what's the guy now, the head of Sony? Jim Ryan, right? So now you have Jim Ryan and Sean Layton literally had the same position. One was in North America and one was over the European market. And so now they consolidated things and getting rid of some positions and consolidating some stuff and changing the overall theme of what they're going to try to do going forward. And, you know, sometimes there's casualties in there. Sometimes people don't see eye to eye, or, you know, hey, if I think I'm in line for the top dog position and the next guy is in line for the top dog position, you know, things can happen. But the weirdest thing about Sean Layton, right, is he's still tweeting and liking, and he's retweeting and liking Sony's and their studios posts and stuff. So there has yet to be a formal announcement by him. So that is just really weird.
Yeah, like that's such a weird scenario because like I think that lends itself to the idea that there was a big power struggle between him and Jim Ryan, and he just lost.
Ultimately, the head guy, which is Yoshida, not Shuhei, but the other Yoshida.
The other Yoshida.
Ultimately, that's the head guy over everything. And so I guess they're restructuring and trying to do stuff differently. And, you know, it was sad to see Sean go. You know, I wish he would, you know, come back and be like, oh, well, you know, I just took some vacation time, whatever, I'm back. But again, the guy been with the company for 30 years. How much longer could we expect him to keep going? It's a new age, a new era. Even myself, I've seen things within the last year that I would most definitely have said in the past, no, this would never happen. Sony would never do this. And they've turned around and did it. And so now you'll never find me saying that Sony won't do anything, because I just don't know. We're in the end game right now. We don't know, especially with all this cloud stuff, and we just don't know what these companies are going, where they're going to take gaming next. We just don't know. So
all right, final topic, just because of time. So, Blizzard had BlizzCon this last weekend. A lot of things came out. Sam, what's the short version of this?
Okay, so the extremely quick version is that not Bobby, of course, Bobby Kotick wouldn't say anything, but Jay Allard came out and apologized, but I'm putting that in quotation marks, and said, "Look, we want to listen to the fans. The fans have made things clear to us. We want to move on, and we want to handle things better in the future." That's great to say, but I wish he'd actually called the situation out by name, explained that, yes, what we did to Blitzchung was wrong, and we should allow our players to express themselves, or I don't know. Just, I think his apology was lacking, but we'll see what their actions show in the future. We'll see. I don't want to beat that dead horse too much. It is what it is at this point. Beyond that, as was widely leaked, they announced Diablo 4, which looks absolutely freaking amazing. It's basically like, hey, what if we took the gameplay from Diablo 3, but we gave people that gothic atmosphere from Diablo 2, and then we threw in some Warhammer and Dragon Age, like dark, grisly, gruesome elements just to make things really interesting. I'm super excited for that. Diablo 4 looks amazing. They also announced Overwatch 2, which is really confusing, and they're going to be using the same multiplayer client, but there's engine upgrades coming. But players of the first Overwatch are going to be able to play the new characters and maps, but they won't get the new visual upgrades. But Overwatch 2 is going to have story missions. Definitely one of the weirder ways to announce a sequel that I've seen. Like, really weird. Like, I get what they're going for at the end. I understand what they're trying to do, but they could have explained it way better. Beyond that, there's also a big World of Warcraft expansion coming. If you care about that, that's a really big deal because they're doing some interesting lore stuff. And then there's some Hearthstone stuff, but I don't think anyone here cares about that at all. So, really, it's Diablo 4 and Overwatch 2 is what we're here for.
Yes.
Do you think? I will ask Sam this. Do you think? Like, I thought made some of the things.
You're cutting out for us, Nick.
Yeah, you cut out. Can you repeat that?
Because some of the things they're doing with Overwatch 2 versus original Overwatch are kind of weird. I'm gonna say it's not a direct sequel. There's stuff and everything. Do you think this is what all the companies are going to do? Do you think we're going to get like Rainbow Six Siege 2 and it's going to be similar to this?
It's difficult to say, right? Because Rainbow Six... Okay, so here's the thing. Rainbow Six Siege, I don't hear anyone clamoring for a Rainbow Six Siege campaign. Another Rainbow Six campaign, maybe, but Rainbow Six Siege, no. Overwatch is this really weird, peculiar situation, Nick, where everyone... You and I have talked about this. Ivan and I have talked about this. You and Ivan have probably talked about this. It's like that world is full of lore and interesting characters, and they didn't do anything with it. It's just like, oh, we're giving you 2-3 minute recaps here, and then you get the occasional special event. Like, people have been clamoring, no, we want a campaign. We want a campaign. So I think it's a different situation where they have to figure out, okay, we don't want to upset the current player base. We don't want people to lose what they have and all their cosmetics and the thousands of hours they've poured in, but we want to give people a good quality campaign. So I think this is them splitting the difference and going about it that way, if that makes any sense. I don't think this is going to be the norm moving forward. Although, even as I say that, Fortnite recently rebranded itself as Fortnite Chapter 2, and that's not getting a campaign. Like, they're never going to actually finish the Save the World mode. So who knows? Who knows?
I'm still waiting for Save the World mode to go to free-to-play
never
beta.
Will. Fortnite will forever and ever be an, quote, early access game, unquote. So I say that to say, Nick, I don't think Rainbow Six Siege specifically will get this happening, but I do think we could see some companies go about it. It depends on the situation, and it fits Overwatch to a T. But they just didn't explain it well.
Okay, so here's the thing, right? Do you think that they're doing the whole Overwatch 2 thing because Overwatch 1 is still, obviously it still exists. They still want to keep that base. They still want to keep those revenues and money and tournaments and stuff going on. And because of the graphics and the gameplay changes are so different, they don't want to disrupt what they currently have. They eventually want to transition people from 1 to 2 slowly, or...
Yeah, exactly. The point is, what they're going to do is they're going to get people running on the Overwatch 2 client, server side. And they're just going to do that in the background slowly without upsetting the current player base. Yeah. But that way they can move people over. And at the same time, if you want to shell out bucks for the campaign, like I will, then you have that option of doing so.
Do they give a price at all for this?
They have not.
Because I can't get the feeling that this is something they're going to throw $60 at.
If they're smart, it would be a $40.
$40, sure. I'll do that. But $60 and all this stuff, all the multiplayer stuff is just updated for free. It's like,
well, it could be
Activision, fam. It ain't gonna.
Yeah.
When is that?
But Fortnite, right? Yeah, you have Fortnite, and I bought Fortnite not when it was Kickstarter. But early, and it had the single player mode, and I think I bought the ultimate thing, so it gave me 3 copies to give out to friends and stuff like that. This was before the whole battle royale mode came.
Yep.
And I tried it, and it was like, okay. And then just one day, they went full battle royale and gave it away for free, and that's what everyone ended up. That's when that game picked up. Other than that, but I'm like literally one of the only people in the world that actually bought this game at a full price.
Yep. It was supposed to be, this was paid early access for the beta.
Yeah.
The beta was supposedly going to come out in 1 year from the release. They said it was supposed to come out like November 2018.
Yep.
We're a bit late.
Well, no. See, 20 came out playing it into spring 2019, but obviously no one's asked the question recently, so
Are we still in
quite
spring?
happy with it.
Or is this still spring 2019?
We can hope.
In Australia, maybe.
Yeah, it's anyway. There's a lot of funny little things I've noticed over this last little bit about how all this stuff went down, and I don't know. Overwatch, I like Overwatch a lot. I really, really do, and I'm one of the more loyal supporters who's played it pretty much through thick and thin. I played every single event except for this last one, the last Halloween one, because I refused to. Over the Hong Kong issue, I just didn't play it because of this, and I'm very disappointed in what happened. But that's as far as my protest will go. I just don't know based on this, like if they want to charge that full $60, even though this is Activision we're talking about here, I can't see them doing that. $30 or $40 I could believe, but especially if they're arguing this value thing about, like, look, we're not gonna, for all the multiplayer stuff, the reason why people play Overwatch, for all the multiplayer stuff, it's all gonna be included anyway in the old version. It's like, okay. Interesting. So, anyway, it's one of those weird little things. They're lowering the barrier of entry. But,
yeah, if they need to charge $30. I mean, even Overwatch, I'm a big Overwatch person, and I even bought it on the Switch. If the point of entry there was $29, $30, something like that, people are going to jump on it, and they're going to jump on it in a heartbeat. It's a solid product. It's a great product. Again, I'm one of those people where when I play games, when I buy games, I don't spend money inside of those games. I'm the anti-spend money guy.
Yep, same
for
here.
something that now it's different, right?
It's a matter of pride.
If it's a free, if it's a free game, right? For example, my kids, like, hey, Dad, can I have some V-Bucks for Fortnite? I don't mind doing that, right? Every now and then, because it is a free game. They can enjoy it, go into creative mode and all that stuff, and still have fun without it. And it's free. It's free to me. So therefore, I'm probably willing to spend up to $60 on content in the game, just like I'm buying a game. But I'd be dang if I'm going to spend $60 and then turn around and feel like I have to spend more money to get enjoyment out of it. I stay away from those type of games.
Yep. No, dude, I totally understand that. I'm with you on that. Like, for me, it's more of like a point of pride where it's like, I got in, I did my thing. I don't need to spend any extra money on this. I'm happy with what I got. And I enjoy that. It's like, we got free-to-play games. It's a little different. But, I mean, like, I broke down and got a Fortnite Battle Pass. I was like, look, all right, I enjoyed it enough. Here's $10. I'm not giving you any more. I'll give a couple of skins and earn some V-Bucks inside.
Yep.
So it's like, hey, not bad. All right, we're going to wrap things up. I know that James was having issues with connecting, so he wasn't able to stick all the way through the show, and Fame likely had his kids to get to, so that I took him away. But we're going to wrap things up here, everybody. It looks like Undead dropped out, too, as soon as we said we were ready to go.
I threw him out the window.
You kicked him out the window? Excellent. He needed to be kicked out. Anyway, so we're doing outros. Jada, where can the good people find you, sir?
You guys can find me on Twitter at Jaydubcity16, trying to keep you guys laughing with the gifts and the memes, you know what I mean? You can also find me at JW on YouTube, rather, where I upload gameplay and not necessarily reviews, but a lot of gameplay and a lot of other content that's going on there. So check me out.
All right. And Sam, where can the people find you, sir?
You can find me on Twitter at Samuel Tolbert. That's 2LBERT. And you can find everything I write on Windows Central, Android Central, and iMore.
All right. And Mike?
All right, guys, you can find me on Twitter at The Truth of Mike P and on everything else at Mike P The Truth.
All right, and you guys can find me at Anchorman V2 across all the major platforms. And thank you guys for tuning in to the show. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you for coming on the show, J-Dub. You're always been a welcome man on the show.
Anytime. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
All right. And this has been the Multiverse Show, episode 142, greatest show on Mondays, and we are out of here.